primary markets to me are going to be like maybe 200,000 plus, maybe 150 to 200,000 plus for the population of that area. So now what I want to talk about next is the population of these areas. Okay, so in a primary market, obviously primary markets to me are going to be like maybe 200,000 plus, maybe 150 to 200,000 plus for the population of that area. Let's say 150. 150K plus for population. So when you're starting to get like bigger cities, 150 or so, 1,000 people, then you're like, okay, I'm probably in a primary. If you're in if you're in a town of 150,000 people and there's like no primary market players, then you should really be, really looking at that area. You know what I'm saying? That's like a very good area to be investing in, to maybe build something. Okay. And then you have secondary market. Secondary market populations are going to be from, let's say 50,000 to 150,000. Okay. Okay. So that's that kind of like big city, but these secondary markets are not attached to suburbs. No suburbs. All right. We'll get to that in just a second. And then a tertiary market, the population of those towns is 25K to 5,000K. So I would say 25,000, 25 to 5,000. Okay. And so tertiary market just means like country, like little tiny towns in the middle of nowhere country. Like for instance, like in Georgia, we have Albany, Georgia. It's a nice big town. It's got like almost 20,000 people, 25,000 people. No, it's probably got 15 to 20,000 people. I mean, a lot of people, 15 to 20,000 people in a little tiny area is kind of a lot of people, right? You got to have storage in those areas. It's just that it's not going to be bigger players. It's probably not going to be any secondary market players, and it's not going to be any primary market players. It's just going to be like, mom and pops like us, right? So when you think of the market and you think of cap rate, you're going to think primary, secondary, and tertiary markets, and you're going to think 4 to 6% cap rate, 6 to 7% cap rate, or a 7 to 8% cap rate, maybe 9. I don't know. Maybe you can get up to a 9 cap now. I'm not sure. We're in a super tertiary market. So now, right, we're going to be looking at in the market, you have primary. Let's do primary. You have secondary. And you have tertiary. Okay. Now, in between these areas, this is not like a normal term that a lot of people say, but I call these sub-primaries. Okay. Or subsections, I guess, subsections. So you would have like a sub-primary area. And then you would have a sub-secondary. And then you would have a sub-tertiary area. Okay. So sub-primary to me means the suburbs of like a primary market. Okay. So sub-primary to me would be like we're buying a facility right now in Carrollton, Georgia. Right. Carrollton, Georgia is a suburb of Atlanta. It's like, maybe, it's like outside of the Atlanta area. And it's growing very fast area. Now, sub-primary areas are obviously, going to be more expensive. The cap rates are going to be the cap rate is like it's going to still be 4 to 6, right? Like just like this one, 4 to 6. But the cap rate is going to be a little bit lower than the primary market. So for instance, I'm selling 3 facilities right now in the Atlanta market. And, I'm doing Fairburn. If you didn't see my pitch, you missed it, but like from Fairburn to Noonan to Franklin, It's like Fairburn is definitely like primary market, and then Noonan is secondary market, and Franklin is tertiary market. And that is all like from Fairburn to like from Atlanta to Franklin is maybe like a 45-minute drive. And Franklin may be what may be considered a sub-secondary market. It may be not a tertiary market. Maybe it's a sub-secondary market. Okay. But the population is only like 12,000 people for Franklin. So really it'd be considered a tertiary market. But since it's on the outskirts of Noonan, maybe you could consider that also a sub-secondary market. But, so you want to just kind of like understand, because it just gets, cap rates get very difficult to, to figure out, when you, especially when you're near primary markets, you're trying to figure it out. So like we ran our numbers at 7 cap, honestly, for, to sell the properties. But the truth is probably Fairburn, we could have gotten a 6 cap. And then Noonan, we could have gotten maybe a 6.5% cap rate. And then Franklin would have been like a 7 cap or something, if that makes sense. But we ended up just running all of our numbers at 7 cap just to make it a better deal for everybody. So, so you want to think of that. So you want to think that in terms of like, location of the facility equals like what the cap rate is going to be. And so it's kind of hard to determine, but you can always just like, you just pick a cap rate like this. I said, this is kind of a good way to start. And then if you went like with a realtor, like let's say you hired Marcus and Millichap to sell your properties, they would look at all your numbers and then they would come up with like 6.38% cap rate or something like this is what they would do. But for us, when we're running our numbers, you just, just round it up. It's not a big deal. It doesn't really change that much anyways. But okay, so this is the 6 to 7%. And then this is going to be the, the 7+%. Now a sub-tertiary market, I would consider this to be 5,000 or less. Right. And a sub-secondary, probably like, 50 to 75,000, maybe. Let's do sub-secondary, I'd say 40K to 60K or something like this. Okay. Right. And then the sub-primary, and also sub-primary too, like Carrollton, I think only has like maybe, I think was like 50,000 people or 40,000 people in it. So suburbs, even the population, even though the population is still like 40,000, it's going to be, it'd still be a sub-primary market. Okay. I guess population is not that important in the, in the subsections, just know, I just want to make sure that y'all aren't confused on that. Okay. So let's do that. But yeah, sub-tertiary is 5,000 or less. So I was talking to a guy earlier. So he's interested in doing the coaching program. So just so everybody knows, the coaching program is open. It's just go to StorageNerds.com if you're interested.